Admiral Doug Schofield with the U.S. Coast Guard. As of 8 a.m. this morning, Hurricane Idalia is located approximately 130 miles south of the Dry Tortugas with winds in excess of 80 miles per hour. It is officially a hurricane. The storm is forecast to make landfall along Florida's Big Bend tomorrow morning as a major hurricane. The National Hurricane Center has issued a hurricane warning for the Gulf Coast from Sarasota County up through Franklin County in the Panhandle, and storm surge watches are also in effect in those areas. The National Hurricane Center advisory includes that if this storm hits at high tide, storm surge could reach 8 to 12 feet in some areas, and so that would be a life-threatening storm surge. I know all those areas are under evacuation notices in the low-lying and coastal areas. You run from the water and you hide from the wind. If you're there in that storm surge, you're putting your life in jeopardy when it gets to be that high. So if you are giving those orders, please heed those orders. You do not have to leave the state. You don't have to drive hundreds of miles. You have to get to higher ground in a safe structure. You can ride the storm out there, then go back to your home once the storm passes. There are evacuation orders for coastal and low-lying areas in 22 different counties along the Gulf Coast, as well as throughout North Florida. To make these evacuations easier on families, we have directed FDOT to waive tolls in Citrus, Hernando, Hillsborough Lake, Pasco, Pinellas, and Sumter counties, and that started at 0400 this morning. For those evacuating, Visit Florida has activated the emergency accommodation module with Expedia. So if you want to find a hotel, you can go to expedia.com/Florida. We are continue to coordinate with the power companies across the state. We had, as of this morning, over 25,000 linemen stationed, more on the way. So you will have most likely between 30 and 40,000 linemen when the storm hits will be in the state of Florida, and then they will immediately move to commence power restoration efforts. We've also been working with counties to make sure that they know that we have resources ready to deploy, and we want to be helpful to support their efforts. So we have received more than 450 active missions that we are coordinating. Every resource request we receive has either been filled or will be filled by the end of this morning. We do have 420,000 gallons of fuel staged and ready to deploy, and additional assets are expected over the next few days, and the gas stations that will be prioritized will be the ones along the heavy evacuation routes. We have 8 urban search and rescue teams activated and over 580 search and rescue personnel ready right now. We have delivered 431 pallets of water, 303 pallets of MREs, and over 1,200 tarps to communities that may be impacted. We've got many more gallons of water and a lot of MREs that are ready to be deployed as needed. There are over 20 shelters open, and additional 20 special needs shelters are mobilizing or on standby throughout the state of Florida. We have 5,500 National Guardsmen that have been activated. We have deployed 247 Starlinks with another 529 staged in Central Florida, and they will be deployed to impacted areas as the needs arise. 42 school districts have announced school closures over the next 2 days, along with 16 state colleges and 7 Florida universities. Our Florida Department of Transportation has more than 600 personnel, including over 220 cut and toss crew members, with more than 400 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks strategically placed across the state to prepare for cut and toss operations post-storm. And if you look at that track of where it's going now, you are going to see a lot of debris. There's a lot of trees along that track, and it is going to knock down trees, it's going to knock down power lines, and there's going to be a need to be able to clear a lot of the right-of-ways. Florida Department of Transportation has about 1,100 generators en route to impacted areas, and they're going to use that to get the traffic signals up and running as soon as possible when the storm passes. As wind becomes stronger later today and into the night, FDOT will be coordinating with FHP and local law enforcement to close bridges once the speeds reach in excess of 40 miles an hour. Road rangers will be concentrated along evacuation routes to help motorists. We have also called up 33 ambulance strike teams with over 200 ambulances that are ready to surge into any impacted area. We've also requested an additional 6 strike teams through our Emergency Management Assistance Compact with other states. So this storm is going to hit tomorrow morning. You will start certainly seeing effects of this in different parts of the state later on today. You still have time this morning to be able to make your final preparations. If you are in one of those areas that's in line for some of the major storm surge and you're told to evacuate, you have time to do that. But you got to do that now. You don't have to go hundreds of miles. You can go to a shelter in a different part of your county, go to a friend's house in an area that is not going to be susceptible to the storm surge, hotel. All these things are good to do, and you should do that and heed. This is going to be a major hurricane, likely a Category 3, and where it's scheduled to hit along this big bend, and we've not really had a hurricane strike this area for a long, long time. I think you got to go back to the 1800s before you would see a path like this. And so those coastal areas there, have not necessarily been through this before. And I think that being safe is the appropriate thing, and erring on the side of caution is the appropriate thing. We will, of course, be mindful of any changes in the path of this storm. I think everybody on that Gulf Coast from Tampa Bay up until Northwest Florida must remain vigilant. They have nudged the track a little bit further west over the last 24 hours. I mean, we were looking at potentially Levy County, I think yesterday and today. Now we're looking more at a Taylor County. There's some models that say it may go even further west. So places like Tallahassee, where we are today, certainly you could end up having it hit Tallahassee directly in some of the surrounding areas. So everyone just remain vigilant, continue to watch and listen to the local orders that you receive from your local emergency management personnel. I want to thank everybody. We've been in contact with people from most of these counties over the last few days. Everybody's working hard. Everybody understands that that this is a significant event, and they're remaining calm, cool, and collected, but they're executing, and that's what we need to continue to do. I want to thank everybody here at the state of Florida for working hard. They've been working now round the clock and getting the resources where they need to be as those requests come in. And of course, once the storm passes, we're going to immediately go to commence any type of rescue operations, and of course the power restoration will be a big priority. Go to floridadisaster.org/get-a-plan if you have any questions. Again, you still have some time this morning and into the early afternoon, but as we get throughout this day, you are going to start to see rain and wind pick up, particularly the further south you are in the state of Florida. And by the time we get to the end of tonight, you're gonna see some nasty weather. So just be warned about that, and do what you need to do right now to be able to keep yourself and your family safe. Okay, we're going to hear from Kevin Guthrie, Division of Emergency Management.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor, again for your continued support and leadership. As of this morning, Idalia was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane and is expected to continue to strengthen as it makes its way through the Gulf of Mexico. The storm is going to be here very soon. By this time tomorrow morning, we will pretty much lock down the EOC, and we will be working through those issues. The state is working overtime to fulfill requests made by counties in the path of the storm. To date, we have filled we are actively working 461 missions. We have closed 72 missions for a total of 552 missions. Counties, please continue to send in your resource requests so that we can take advantage of the time we have left. We're going to have about another 18 hours or so that we can move commodities. After that, we will not be able to do that any longer. We're doing everything we can to ensure that communities have the necessary resources they need. But you as a household owner, you need to take action now. You need to get you and your family, businesses, you need to get your employees ready now. The time is now. I implore you to finalize your disaster preparedness actions right now. I want to stress again, even if your community is not in the forecast cone, it does not mean you're in the clear. I'm going to use a graphic to my left. If you're in red on this graphic, you're underneath a hurricane or tropical storm warning, or you're underneath a surge warning. If you're in pink, you're under a watch. That is well outside that cone. So again, people are going to experience issues with this, from trees down, power being shut down, heavy rains are on the east side of this storm. It's going to be a very fast-moving storm, but please, if you're in the red, don't focus on that cone. Focus on, if you're in the red, you need to take some type of protective action, and you need to do that now. If you decide to shelter in place, identify a safe place in your home, away from windows where you can shelter safely. The same thing applies to the very first thing that we're going to experience most likely in Florida, which is a tornado. If you find yourself in a tornado watch or warning, please get yourself to an interior room free of windows. Put a mattress over your head. Even if you have some type of bicycle helmet or something like that, you need to protect your head from tornadic activity. If you're evacuating, do not leave your pets behind. Make sure you have leashes, carriers, plenty of food and water for them. Evacuations can be stressful on the whole family, so please pack comfort items for your kids, like their favorite toys, games, or snacks. Make sure that before you leave your home, or if you're sheltering in place, if you can pick it up, put it up. If you cannot pick it up, tie it down. Minimize the amount of items that can be picked up and overturned in your neighborhood. Whatever you decide is the best for yourself and your family, again, the action is now. You must do it now. If you're unsure about the next steps of what to do, please contact your local emergency management office. We have also launched the State Assistance Information Line, or in true emergency management vein, we have plenty of acronyms, or the SAIL line. You can contact them at 1-800-342-3557. Again, that's 1-800-342-3557. That's the State Assistance Information Line, and they can take any requests that you have. We have operators standing by now, and that is a 24/7 hotline. They will help you out with how to prepare before, during, and after a hurricane, road closures, alternate routes, available open shelters in host and impacted counties, shelters designed for medically dependent individuals, and reentry information. All of that is available at that number. You can also, of course, get up-to-date information by visiting our emergency information site at floridadisaster.org/updates and following us on social media at FLSCRT or at FLCERT. We also just launched yesterday a new guide for newcomers to Florida and visitors to Florida. That is available at floridadisaster.org/guide, floridadisaster.org/guide. I will talk very quickly about an operational component that we're going to experience in this particular disaster, and that is this storm is going to move through during the day tomorrow, and then we're going to be at a point where we might be able to start operating towards sunset. But we're going to be operating in areas that are without power. These are going to be very, very delicate tactical operations. They may be done from the river. They may be done from creeks. They may be done from helicopters. So again, it's not something we like to do, which is operate in a dark environment with power lines entangled in trees. But again, we understand that people are probably going to call 911 and need some assistance. So we, along with counties across the area, are working with FWC, the Florida National Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, on how we're going to best be able to help those persons in need. So we're working through all that today, and then we'll get in our later press briefing today, as well as in tomorrow, we'll start talking more about recovery efforts. Again, Governor, thank you so much for your time, your leadership, and support.
Jared.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for your leadership as we continue preparing for this event. Thank you, Director Guthrie, for your continued efforts as we prepare. The Florida Department of Transportation has many activities simultaneously in motion right now to ensure the safety of the traveling public and to have open mobility of all major roadways in advance of the storm's impact. I've been on the road this week, personally seeing all the equipment, personnel, resources being staged, ready to respond to this event. FDOT has 671 crew members, including almost 100 bridge inspectors, staged near impact zones to quickly advance on the ground to clear roadways and bridges and provide first responders, supply deliveries, and utility providers the ability to reach communities in need. We have 224 cut and toss crew members. They've been outfitted with plenty of equipment to begin recovery efforts. This includes 140 dump trucks, 200 pieces of heavy equipment, and nearly 60 pump trucks. There are almost nearly, as the governor mentioned, 1,100 generators staged and ready to be deployed for traffic signals that may lose power. FDOT is also allowing utility companies to stage at our way stations along our interstate system. Our contractors on active construction projects in the vicinity of the impact area have begun closing their operations of construction, opening the travel lanes, and especially in the Tampa Bay region with the Howard Franklin Bridge project, we've lowered those crane booms and secured those barges for impact. Our project crews continue to work diligently to make sure that any evacuations that occur can be facilitated efficiently. We continue to coordinate with the Florida Highway Patrol, local law enforcement, and the U.S. Coast Guard on bridge and road closures. As the governor mentioned, when sustained winds reach over 40 miles per hour, that's when the decision begins to be made for bridges to be closed to traffic. Also, at the governor's direction, we've suspended tolls in the Tampa Bay region to help facilitate people getting to safety before the storm impacts the coast of Florida. We've been coordinating very closely with our transportation partners, our seaports, airports, other passenger services. Our seaports are ready for this storm. They are fully topped off with fuel supplies and ready to respond quickly after the storm passes through. With regards to passenger service at airports, railroads, and transit agencies, please look for your local media notices in terms of that service. We have begun to see services suspended at airports and also the Sunrail service in Central Florida. We have 13 traffic management centers around the state that operate 24/7, where teams are monitoring road conditions and traffic levels along critical corridors to ensure the safe travel for drivers. At these traffic management centers, our crews input traffic information into Florida's 511 system in real time. This is going to be the place where you can get the most timely and accurate information on traffic as this storm impacts the state of Florida. Please visit florida511.com or download the app on Apple or Android devices. This is where you'll be able to get that real-time information on traffic. Last but not least, remember, safety is definitely the top priority. As you get your family and yourself to safety, please remember we want to see you get where you're going safely. Please keep that in mind, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership.
Okay, so we have short amount of time here. I'd just urge everybody to take the appropriate precautions. You still have time to do what you need to do, but we are going to be faced with a major hurricane hitting the state of Florida within the next 24 to 36 hours. So be ready for that, and just know if you're in the path of this storm or even outside the cone, there's a good chance you're going to lose power. There's going to be a lot of people working to restore that, but just be prepared for that to happen and make sure you're doing what you need to do for yourself and your family. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, contingency plans for Tallahassee?
Those closings that Secretary Perdue mentioned, any idea as to when in the Tampa Bay area that 40-mile-per-hour winds might reach and those two might coincide? I don't know if you've spoken to them in the briefings.
What do you think on 40? I mean, it'll be tonight probably, right?
Yeah, tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say sometime tonight. I think you're late tonight, early tomorrow morning. You should probably see winds of that. Now, this track, they've moved it a little further west, and so I mean, obviously there's still going to be impacts in Tampa Bay, but every notch west, it's a little less impact to Tampa. So some of the models had it going even further west into Tallahassee. NHC has not been willing to go that far, and some of these models have been very bad, to be honest with you, if you look at past storms. But there is some people that think it's going to go even further west than that. And so that's why we say certainly Tallahassee, those areas, you're not out of the woods.
Yeah. Do you have any contingency plans for state government to continue operating if Tallahassee is devastated?
So we're going to do so basically what the state government has traditionally done is when Leon County does a closure, then the state doesn't. They closes their office buildings. Now people will still be working from home or what they need, and the essential personnel that are here. So everything will continue. But in terms of routine state government work, they will be home on Wednesday.
ACA yesterday put out a message urging healthcare facilities to report their status. Have some facilities not been cooperating?
What's the latest on that?
Yeah, so Secretary Weta with the Agency for Healthcare Administration and Deputy Secretary Ken Shepke with Department of Health have been working with hospitals alongside. we have thousands of facilities that are required to report. Sometimes those facilities do have some delays in reporting. This is one of those things that, just like with any other type of bureaucratic system, we're encouraging them to update today. Don't procrastinate. I think their normal updates are maybe once a week. So again, it's just don't wait to the end of the week when your normal reporting time is. We need you to be in a daily status reporting update now. So that's what the focus was yesterday, of getting real-time stats and keeping that evergreen. So,
Governor or Director, this storm's going to hit some of the poorest parts of the state. Hamilton County, Levy County, and whatnot. I don't know if, like Michael, if you've talked with FEMA about getting expedited funding, so that the reimbursement angle isn't there for those counties that are only bringing in $3 million in ad revenue.
Yeah. So the governor under his leadership with the hurricane, actually we'll go all the way back to Michael or Eric. He'd been on the job one day when he authorized expedited funding, which the previous administration did not do. So with 2 days left, we did a lot of expedited projects to FEMA for Hurricane Michael. We did expedited projects for Hurricane Ian, and we are now in the process. I got people on the floor right now doing expedited projects for FEMA. Robert is the acting administrator for FEMA Region 4. He is aware of that. His team is here. They know that we're going to be asking for several expedited projects from the state level. We're going to encourage counties to do the same. I'm sure the governor will probably have some announcements about things that he may be doing to help fiscally constrain counties in future press conferences.
And a quick follow-up. Figured out the ratio or how much FEMA will pay. I think we had like first 100 days for Michael. I think we had 100%.
Yeah, so we're in the process of writing up that documentation right now. Right now we know that we're at 75-25. They've already covered Category B and DFA, direct federal assistance. Those will be at a minimum 75-25, but we will be writing letters for the governor's signature that will ask for 100% coverage for X number of days. We're trying to see exactly what the type of damage is going to be. Does it come? It doesn't make sense for us to come out today and say we want 100 days because we don't know how much damage we have. We don't want to be overzealous, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we take care of Florida.
And I think that with this storm, given the geography, there's going to be a lot of debris, a lot of trees, a lot of that. Now, that's a challenge, but it's also compared to, say, an Ian, where you had it mixed with a lot of commercial and residential. This is likely just going to be, a lot of trees and roads and stuff, and so it's going to be a big effort. But I think it'll be something where you get those people in to pick up the debris, and they're going to be able to do it. I think it'll be easier to get rid of the debris, just given how the things are laid out. There were some serious challenges with Ian, just given how the debris would be scattered all over the place. I think we know that there's going to be a lot of debris. I think we know there's going to be a lot of trees and limbs and all that. That's going to be there, and that's going to be a really important part of the post-storm recovery.
For you, as this is intensified into a hurricane and continues to intensify, how long are you planning on staying in Florida and off of the campaign trail?
Well, this is no different. I mean, you remember Ian. We were in the midst of a governor campaign. I had all kinds of stuff scheduled, not just in Florida, around the country. We were doing different things. And, you do what you need to do. I mean, and so that's what we're doing. So it's going to be no different than what we did during Hurricane Ian. I'm hoping that this storm is not as catastrophic as Hurricane Ian was, but we're gonna do do what we need to do because it's just something that's important. But it's no different than what we've done in past iterations of all this stuff. All right, we're gonna be going.
For evacuations, a number of people that have been ordered evacuated, and are you hearing anything about fuel or traffic issues?
Want to take that?
Yes, sir. So. I will get you another number for any future press conferences that we have, but we probably, in this particular disaster, in level A and level Bs, we're looking at probably a tenth of what, maybe a fifth of what we had for Hurricane Ian. I mean, we're not dealing with nearly the population that we had in that other situation. So, but we'll get you a number. My geoinformation specialist can pull those numbers of households for you. As far as fuel goes, we have more than enough fuel. I'll let Secretary Perdue talk about how much fuel is at the ports. But as far as what we've ordered over 400,000 gallons of gas. We have more than enough fuel to backfill any issues that we have going on right now. But if you don't mind, Governor, I'll let Secretary Perdue talk about the ports.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of evacuations, as I mentioned, we have our traffic management centers. We're monitoring traffic in real time. We're prepared. We have emergency contracts in place for motorist aid and disabled vehicles, and we'll watch as those evacuations occur. And if it gets to the point where it's needed, we have what's known as emergency shoulder use, which we've successfully implemented in past storms to help facilitate those evacuations. In terms of fuel, all of our seaports are fully topped off and stocked with fuel and ready to respond as soon as the storm passes through.
All right. Well, we will be back later today with another update. I'm going to be on the road visiting some of the areas that are likely to be affected.